Hello, hello, and welcome to the Here to Uplift podcast, where we center the stories of impactful changemakers, entrepreneurs, and community leaders who have done the hard work of uplifting themselves through adversity to get where they are today, and now uplift others along the way in their journeys. I'm Lolo Fisher, your host, lover of all things wellness, healing, and empowerment, and I would greatly appreciate if you show us your support by liking, subscribing, and sharing this podcast with others. Let's get into it. Perfect. Okay. Welcome, y'all, to the Here to Uplift podcast. I'm Lolo, and I'm here with my special guest, Nneka Jenkins. I'm super excited for this because this is actually our first time meeting in person, although we've interacted on social media a few times. So a lot of what y'all are hearing, I am learning for the first time, too. So, Nneka, you want to start by introducing yourself and what you do a little bit?
Yes. First of all, I'm so grateful that you even asked me to. We met on Instagram. That's just so crazy. So I'm very excited to be here. My name is Nneka Jenkins. I am a realtor here in the Bay Area. I have my own firm called Onyx Wealth Realty, and our main focus is just helping people achieve generational wealth and all that means, and I truly mean that in the depths of my soul.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you know this, but the way I actually found you was through following Love Iguehi's page, right? So I've been like obsessing with her fashion, her clothing for so long, and then I think she like posted you, and I just saw your Instagram title, and I was like, oh, I'm curious now, and that's how it like led to all of this.
Interesting.
So, yeah, and then you gave me a hair rec, which I so badly needed, and I'm going back this week.
Yay!
To get my hair braided,
I love that.
So,
your hair's beautiful.
yeah,
You don't need
thank
it.
you.
But
Thank you.
no,
You're a connector.
when you posted that, I was like, wait, I remember talking around the side, and then I put it together, but I didn't know Love Iguehi, or Iguehi was the one that
I
connected
never
us.
met her though, so she's on my list too.
Yes, she is amazing. She's amazing.
Yay. Okay, so how did you get into realty?
So kind of by accident. I was in tech, and I was in medical devices, and I've always been the type of person to just do a lot of things, and it's not even like I get bored. I'm just like, oh, let me start this random business. Let me do this. Let me have 10 jobs, you know? So I was helping my husband's family, who they're born and raised out here in the Bay, and I was helping them a lot with managing their real estate, just like, just little stuff, right?
Yeah.
And then this is when we first started dating, so he would get mad that I was spending so much time outside of the house, and he was like, you're not getting paid for it, and whatever. And I'm like, it's your family, like what? And he's like, no, I know, but they will respect what you do. You work so hard for them, whatever, right? So he basically was like, you need to make it a job or like no. And his mom and his aunt Dola were both kind of like, yeah, we agree. So I had to make a business out of it, and I'd done that before with like other things. So I kind of made a business out of it. I'd like give them invoices. So long story short, I found out that to do property management, you have to have your real estate license. So my mindset, I was so small-minded that I got my real estate license. Nothing against property management. I still like do that and all that, but I got my real estate license to do property management. Never occurred to me, hey, do real estate, right?
Yeah.
Didn't even think about it, nothing. So I did that. I was getting my MBA. I was having another kid. And then I did this random training class, and they were like, oh, have you ever thought about corporate relocation? And so corporate relocation, long story short, is basically like a company hires you to help Google, Apple, Tesla type employees relocate, whether it's to rent or to buy. So I started doing that again because I was bored, I guess. And I didn't have enough
good at it.
Yeah. So I was just doing that, and then slowly I made a business out of that for like a year and a half or whatever. And then I got after I got my real estate license, I got my first requisition for a client to purchase. So my first sale was $800,000 in Redwood City, and I was like, this is not, I don't want to say easy because it's, it's not, but I was like, oh, this is easy. Like, thank you, God. So he opened that door for me, and I was doing it part-time. And then my husband was like, finally, after about a year and a half, 2 years of doing it part-time, he's like, you need to quit. And that was a big shift. Yeah. I was pregnant with our fourth child at that time. And he's like, you need to quit your job and do this full time. And I cried and had a nervous breakdown.
Home,
do real
family.
estate.
No,
real estate.
What job were you doing at the same time?
I was in corporate America full time,
Oh,
getting my
doing
MBA,
this on the side.
having our third kid, and then I had our fourth kid, finished the MBA, and then he's like, you need to quit and do it full time. Literally, I had a nervous breakdown, and I'm not being funny.
Gosh.
Yeah, so it was a big transition, but so that's why it was on accident that I kind of fell into real estate, and I have no idea how I didn't start it sooner. It's one of those things I got us out of mind. I didn't even think we could buy a home out here, let alone do real estate at this level. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so corporate America, what transferable skills do you think you were applying to real estate?
Gosh, so many. Professionalism, of course. Managing horizontally, managing vertically, managing expectations, project management, code switching. I don't know.
Yep.
But code switching, a lot.
Yeah. You know what? Let's jump right into it.
Yeah,
Code switching. We gotta talk about it. Because so I am getting into real estate myself. I'm like working on my license, and there's so much to learn. But for me, one of the biggest challenges is the perfectionism piece of wanting to know everything, and there's no way to know everything, right, when you're going into a new venture. But I've been so curious, as a Black woman in, I'll say Silicon Valley, but in the Bay Area in general, doing real estate. What is that code switching experience like? Does it feel natural or forced, and how have you mastered it?
I don't think I've mastered it. I think if anything, as I learn more and more, I struggle with it and wonder if it's okay that sometimes, because I don't think it's something I'm consciously doing. I think this is who I am. Yeah. I mean, I was born in Nigeria, Africa. I moved to America when I was like 4. And this has always been how I present myself, how I speak. And I remember in early years, people saying like, oh, you speak so proper, as if it was a surprise. You know that whole thing.
Yep. I got called an Oreo. Like, you speak, you're Black on the outside, but you speak so white.
Exactly. Oh, there's just so much wrong with that, right? So it's not something I do on a conscious level, but I think people don't realize how much we, in a sense, for success, there is a level of conformity that happens, right? In whichever way. And so for me out here in the South Bay, where a lot of people that look like me are in the East Bay, I think sometimes I think people are sometimes surprised by my success. And I find myself having to make sure in the conversation that I let people know I have kids, because I sometimes present like I look younger. I find myself working in like every time my brokerage has put my name on anything, I'm that girl that's put that MBA. Yeah, go ahead and you forgot that. Let's redo. So I think there's just a lot in interactions that you're constantly second guessing yourself. So there's a part of me that I have to, it's natural for me, honestly, but sometimes I have to get into gear, right? Code switching sometimes, not in the sense that most people think of it, but for me, I talk to my team a lot about being kind of a chameleon in different environments, right? So if you're talking to a tech person, or if you're talking to a high C, high S, less D, or there's a couple or something, you've got to temper who you are a bit.
Right.
And so for me, there's the tempering who you are just as a human, but then the preconceived notions of what I'm supposed to present as a Black female.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting though. So I'm curious because I feel like I get the most pressure, especially when I was in college, and I'll say grad school in particular, because I was teaching while in grad school, teaching undergrad classes. And at the time, I feel like almost all the pressure I got from folks in saying like, you shouldn't temper yourself or you shouldn't assimilate, was coming from other Black folks.
Totally.
And it was like, okay, but like I understand the point of like not changing for somebody else, or not, changing for the white man, is like you would say. And I was like, but it's not that it's not me. It's like different variations of me that I can control. But it was so hard to explain that to somebody. Like, it's still me.
I think that's what I'm struggling with more now. I don't think I ever put that much weight on it or thought about it as much as I do now, because now I'm teaching and guiding people on my team. And there's one woman on my team. I love her dearly. She's been with me, I think, almost 2 years, and she struggles with that because I don't think I articulate it in the complete perfect way yet to encourage people to understand that I'm not saying change. But I'm saying in life in general, you sometimes have to do what you have to do what you want to do. So for me, in the beginning, when I was just starting real estate, I modeled a white man who is still my partner and still a mentor to me, right? He was a white man. It wasn't important to me how he sang it and no, it was important.
Right.
How are you getting these people to trust you? Oh, you're making sure you know everything about everything.
Yes. Yeah.
How are you showing that confidence, even for situations that you don't know? Oh, you're comfortable saying I don't know, but showing them that you're resourceful enough to do it. So I think that for me, I'm realizing that it doesn't have to be about changing who you are. It's about, if you're trying to reach the largest audience in whatever that you're doing, on some level, show who you are, be this, be that, all of that, own it. But when you're helping someone with the largest purchase of their lives,
Right.
like maybe you temper some elements in that initial meeting with them so that they feel safe.
Yeah.
If I'm meeting someone for the first time and they find me on Zillow based on my reviews and what people say about me and all of that, and I come out, hey, like, because I can be that girl.
Right.
But I come out with all that gun swinging, you see a lot of, they don't know me yet. So maybe I have to, and this is, again, subconscious, but maybe I have to code switch. Sorry.
Right.
My mic, sorry about that. Maybe I have to code switch in the moment, or whatever you want to call it, to just temper so that I can make them feel safe enough to trust me and open up. And then we can, get into that.
And code switching has such a negative connotation, but it's really just adapting to whoever
100%.
you're talking to. Like, I'm thinking about even when you talk to a kid, right? You don't talk to a kid like,
that's a good example.
All right, can you go grab this, and then I need you to make this to-do list.
Yeah.
Like a 3-year-old, a 5-year-old, you're not going to get that. But
no, that's
we
such a
naturally
good
turn to
example.
our baby voice so that they can understand us, they can bond with us, and I feel like whether it's business or just building trusting relationships is the same thing. Totally. Eventually, you are going to see the full me if you're like really working, and you might hear my slang, you might hear whatever it is. But when it starts, like, I will use my business voice, which really just means the business is what we're connecting on first. And then you get to know the layers of me.
I literally love that analogy that you used, because when I deal, whether it's my kids or someone else's kids, what is the first thing that you do, at least in my mind? You meet a new kid and you're trying to tell them something or whatever. You're 5 foot whatever, maybe 6 foot tall. They're literally a foot and a half. Get down to their level.
Where they are.
Meet people where they're at.
Yeah.
So, I love that. I love that example.
Okay. I'm curious then, in relation to this topic, do you have any stories, good or bad, in relation to reactions of code switching, or maybe when you had to do it and you weren't comfortable with it?
Gosh, I don't know, but I don't know if this will directly answer that question. Reactions, I think, more on my end. As I've gotten comfortable with, one, who I am, and two, who I am in this career, and I'm no longer working from a scarcity mindset, which sometimes is a survival tactic, right? You don't know everything yet, so I'm leaning on my mentor and just doing everything he tells, I think with that, I've just realized, if I'm in an environment where I start to consciously code switch and change who I am, I'm out.
Right.
And that's okay. And I'm still working through that that's okay, like I don't need that deal, whatever, because I truly don't. Like, right? But
it is hard.
God is my source. So as long as I'm keeping that as the focus, me losing that client, well, if I didn't have them, I'm not losing them. But in my mind, if I'm thinking, I'm losing that client, it's just creating space for someone else. So that's what I'm trying to, communicate to my team, in that it's not that I'm saying you have to. It's that if you're starting your career and you're not there yet, maybe maybe this is just a tool. And what I've also learned is the code switching that I've done subconsciously for so many years, that a lot of us do, it's also helped me learn how to be with different types of people.
Yeah.
So much of people are professionals these days are like, oh, I want my people. Yeah, that's important. You find your tribe, you find your people, and when you grow big enough. But on the road to get there, you got to know how to deal with other people, because here's the thing, I can choose my client, but I can't choose the realtor on the other side. I can't choose the seller on the other side. But when I gather information about them and I pull experiences from the past, it's easy for me to then say, well, maybe I should deal with this in this way, because I remember when I dealt with that personality and they had these circumstances, this is what happened. So I pull on all of those. So to me, it's like education along the way.
And I think that gets taken for granted so much. Like, that's actually a huge piece of why I actually value being mixed, like in my own life. And it's hard because obviously it brought some hardship with things. Like my parents were incredibly loving to me, but I had a lot of moments where like my white side didn't accept me and my black side didn't accept me. It's like, where do you go? And you grow through that. But that always made me want to know people of a variety of cultures. It made me want to know, like, how can I make sure nobody else feels excluded or like they're not enough? Yeah, and now I'm like, I didn't even realize other people had issues with that until... That's obviously young adulthood-ish and, you know, like growing through that. And now I'm like, oh, this is an asset, like that I'm comfortable talking to anybody.
It's a huge asset. I spoke at Stanford last week, and there were undergrad students in the room and graduate students. I don't remember exactly how they asked, but I remember someone bringing up, you know, that they struggle with not having more environments that look like them, and what would I do if that were me, and I am from Nigeria, Africa, and when we moved here, I grew up most of my life in Scottsdale, Arizona.
No.
Yes,
really?
The dichotomy, people.
I went to school at University of Arizona, so I know Scottsdale.
I went to University of Arizona.
Wait, really?
This is funny.
I really didn't know that. Okay.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't want to age ourselves, but I want to know when you graduated.
2012 with my bachelor's and 2016 with my master's.
Okay, you're young. I'm done. Okay.
We look like we're the same age, though, so
really?
you look so young. But.
I graduated 2008.
Okay,
Did I? Is that right? 2008 from
like
college.
One high school cycle away. We're close.
Interesting. Okay, so.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's funny.
Okay, but to say, I know what Scottsdale looks like, so yes. Yeah.
So I remember them saying, you know, these Stanford students are saying, like, what do you do? What's your advice? And it came across like it was a negative thing, right?
Yeah.
I get it. I love when I have an environment where there's a lot of people that look like me. I strive for my kids to have environments where more kids look like them. I picked their schools to make sure not all black kids, but multicultural.
Yeah.
So I remember answering that, and I struggled because I didn't want to come across like, it doesn't matter. But it kind of doesn't. So what I said to them was, listen, if the environment doesn't look the way you want it to, go create that environment. Go find your people, go create that space, go create that group, whatever. That's the first piece, because you need to get that. If that's what you're craving, you need to get that. But then I said to them, but don't underestimate the power, like you were just mentioning, of being in that environment that you feel is not ideal, meaning, and maybe in their mind it's, I'm the only black kid, and I've dealt with that all my life, right? But maybe you're supposed to be the light in that environment to other people. Yeah. Maybe there's things you have to learn in that environment, because the world is, you're not going to be able to create every single environment to be that.
Right.
And do we want that? Like, look at what it's a melting pot. So I remember saying that and feeling like, I hope this resonates and doesn't sound negative, but I think so much of people these days, we're so mad at what is, instead of accepting it, learning from it, and then go create whatever it is that you're desperate for.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's always supposed to always look like us.
Right. You know, I don't disagree, but I do have to play devil's advocate
Please
a little bit.
I love it.
I think there's a little challenge in it of, you know, I agree in terms of our expanse. And, you know, what I hear from a lot when I was working in higher ed and working with like students of color, what I was hearing is, I am already working so hard or so stressed or in such traumatic environments at home that I don't want to go to these places where I'm supposed to be growing and not feel seen, not feel
100%.
Represented, heard.
And that's how they felt, absolutely.
And that's how they feel when you can't see yourself or someone who looks like you. So, you know, it's hard because it's like,
I agree.
We shouldn't have to build
we're working overtime. I agree with you. In every environment, we're working overtime. We're second guessing how they're perceiving us. All of that stuff doesn't happen in most of my white friends' minds.
Right.
They don't even have to think about, how am I coming across right now?
Yeah.
Are they going to assume that I'm ghetto? Are they going to assume that I'm uneducated? Are they going to assume that I'm not married with all these kids that I talk about? All that stuff. You're 100% right.
Yes.
I think I just, how great would it be, though, if we turn that perspective into, let's go create it. And that's why I love, like, seeing all the spaces that people create, and then you can go be a part of them.
Yeah.
But instead, sitting there and being discouraged by it and kind of going within, like, you're missing the beauty that maybe you were meant to be uncomfortable in that space so that you can then grow
into it
and create something that other people will benefit from.
It's true. In those, like, tough situations, I think that's when you find out your real gifts.
100%.
Like, they blossom when you don't expect it, like when you least expect it.
When it's hard, when it's uncomfortable, like, we want to be so comfortable all the time. We're missing what creates grit and resilience.
Yeah.
I'm trying to, like, literally create it for my kid. Because, like, listen.
Please tell me about this.
Oh my God.
Because I'm curious. I'm like, I mean, obviously, like, viewers can't necessarily see everything, but your home
Thank
is
you.
gorgeous.
We worked very hard for it.
And that's what I was going to say. And I'm betting that you worked so hard to get
it was
here.
A lot of sacrifice.
And then, so it's like, how do you convey that hard work to children who are growing up in a place that's so beautiful?
Frankly, I have a cleaner sometimes, and sometimes I'm like, please don't come when my kid's here.
Yeah.
But the things that come out of my kids' mouths, you're like, and you're like, well, I did that, right? It's hard. My husband and I talk about it all the time because there's a part of me that feels that I'm as tenacious and as driven and as ambitious and as strong as I am because of my environment or because of my upbringing, good, bad, and ugly. And my kids, our lives are not perfect by a long shot. Yeah. But some of the things that I struggled with, they're not struggling with at all, right? The stability. So I worry that they're not going to have the drive. And you can't manufacture that.
You can't.
So I find myself sometimes wondering,
but you don't want to force struggle either. You want to do your best for your kids.
Like, they have struggles, don't get me wrong.
Yeah. But, not the same.
No, not the same. And, like, it's hard because we're big on sports. We're equally, if not more, big on education. Sometimes in the sports, because we're big on, like, listen, you don't have to do all of this. Yeah. I did 5 sports growing up. My mom was at none of them. None of them. I won competitions. I went to state for track every single year. I was a dancer all my life. I did so much. Yeah. Okay. Clearly we're gonna be friends after this. I love that we're doing this on camera for the first time too, right? But I did so much of that, and my mom couldn't be at anything because she